Hey, it's me, Destin. Welcome to the second channel. This is the behind the scenes video for the see-through engine project. It's pretty cool. So I went up to Cinnaminson, New Jersey. Thank you to everybody on Patreon that supports Smarter Every Day to let me do stuff like that. Thank you very much. If you would like to consider supporting on Patreon, I'll leave a link below to do that. But the cool thing about going to places like this is not necessarily the thing that we're learning, but it's also the people that you meet. Now, Everett and Mike and Bill, they're really cool guys. Their hobbies are pulling apart engines, changing it around, and putting them together so they operate as if they were a different engine. That's really, really complicated. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I appreciate that, but I'm not sure I could do it as well as these guys can. So it's really, really fascinating to me. So today, what I'd like to do is just take all those conversations and memories that fell off of the timeline while we were editing the master video here and put it in this behind the scenes video so you can just see what that personal interaction was like. It was really fun and I hope you enjoy it. Anyway, if you do like this sort of stuff, feel free to subscribe to the second channel, or support on Patreon.
Hey, Phil.
Hey, it's me, Destin. Welcome back to Smarter Every Day. I'm in the garage of a guy that's got a YouTube channel called 805 Road King, and they have built a special engine. It's a glass head engine, correct?
Yeah.
So this is an acrylic plate that goes on top of a Briggs & Stratton engine. Is that right?
Exactly.
Why'd you get all serious when I turned the camera on?
No, I didn't.
He did. Did you notice he got quiet? But he did, didn't he, Mike?
He became really very professional.
Yeah, Everett all got like, ooh, I'm super on video now. All right, so you've replaced the head on a Briggs & Stratton engine with, like, this is the type of engine we have over here. This is a normal head. It's metal.
Right, and what we've added is this spacer here. We've increased the volume of the combustion chamber, and in lieu of a spark plug, we've now got this spark gap here. And we're going to run the engine on gasoline and see what the combustion process looks like.
That's pretty good.
10,000 frames per second.
10,000 frames per second because we've got a high-speed camera and an engine hoist. So are you guys related?
No.
You're just buddies?
We met at an engine show.
You met at an engine show?
Actually, it was through YouTube, right? So I had a channel, he had a channel, and we started watching each other's videos.
I said, if I got a hit and miss, could you get it running? And he said, sure. And we bought a hit and miss. And he got that running for me, and then we got another one. And at that time, he only lived 17 miles away.
Right.
Yeah.
At his parents' house.
Yeah, that's when I was living with my parents.
Did you move over here?
I did. I live in central, well, I guess South Jersey, but...
It's a pretty town.
Well, this is a nice area, Cinnaminson is.
So while Mike's mounting the camera, you want to tell me about the engine?
This engine right here?
Yeah.
Well, Mike is more or less the mechanic. He knows the mechanics of it, like the propane and stuff.
But you're never on camera, and I kind of want you on camera.
Nah. I'm surprised. As a matter of fact, they call me the Wizard from the Wizard of Oz because, hey,
Do you not want to be on camera?
No, it don't bother me at all.
Okay, cool.
It's just, it's not about me most of the time. It's about Mike and his engines and stuff.
Well, today it's about you.
Well, what the deal is with me and Mike is he's a mechanical genius as far as I'm concerned, because, and as long as I've been alive, I've never met somebody that's as good as with engines as Mike is. And my background is in bodywork and paint and stuff like that. So Mike, even if Mike doesn't know what he's going to do with it, I'll ask him. And I'll say, can this be done? And Mike will think about it for a second, and he'll say, yeah. And he'll make it work. And same with the paint, he'll say, can you do this or that, or the body work? And I'll say, yeah, we can do that. And
You guys, this is a healthy bromance. I like what I'm seeing here.
We work well together, and a perfect example is this tank right here, the propane tank. Now, all it is a disposable propane cylinder. And we were thinking of a way that we could make it look more interesting and not intrusive when it's mounted on the engine, because we have to have it there.
So you faked the rivets on here?
Yes.
right.
That was
I bedazzled it.
right. That was actually,
Did you really? You made it look like one of those old school
like
tanks.
an old riveted tank, an old boiler tank.
That's
So
fantastic.
even though he's typically the painter guy, I was looking at it thinking, well, geez, because I recently bought an original riveted tank for a project. Thinking, well, gee, we could either paint some little rivets on there.
This is just a Coleman cylinder, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's pretty good. So tell me what you've done here. You've taken the engine
Right.
and you've just removed the original head
Right.
Now, usually the spark plug is right on top dead center, right?
Well, no, it's not right above.
But it's in the top.
It's if you reference this engine right here, the center of the piston you could say is right below my index finger here, and then the center of the intake valve is under this finger, and you have the exhaust valve over here.
So why is the spark plug in between the intake valve and the cylinder? Is that to start the flame?
Well, it could be. You know, there's a few different reasons why you do that. And for one thing, it wasn't that great of a concern back in the 1950s. It was more reliability aspect for these things. You know, this was on a lawnmower. Some guy, when they bought his lawnmower, he wanted it to start up every time. So Briggs and Stratton, through some trial and error, determined that was the best location for it. And they've changed over the years. We've got some older engines where the spark plug is actually in the cylinder head on an angle on the side, directly between the intake and the exhaust valve, and for whatever reason they determined that this was the best reason for cooling of the cylinder head, keep the spark plug from fouling. There's many reasons, but I can't say for sure.
But you're different over here, right?
Right. Well,
this doesn't
we're
even have a
different.
spark plug.
Now it looks different. It doesn't have a spark plug, but if you look closely, you see that the pin sticking up straight there. That's our ground electrode.
Yep.
And coming in the side here, that's the live electrode that's carrying the high voltage for the ignition.
Now that cylinder over here, this is a magneto, right?
Right. That's flywheel magneto ignition. Yep.
So where is the magneto? I don't see it.
The magneto is actually located underneath the shroud right here.
Okay. And it's basically just a magnet going through a coil.
Right. The flywheel itself's got a magnet embedded in it, and there's a set of breaker points that right on the crankshaft.
What will be behind that?
Right. There's an original
There's a
flywheel.
magnet and stuff.
So that's a magnet right there?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then there's a coil pack.
Right. It sits on top of it.
We have all these parts. We put them away because we knew you were coming.
Well, we got to figure out how this works, man.
Here's an original cylinder head.
Okay.
For example, so you can see. I'll flip it over. You can see where the two valves would be.
Yep.
Where the piston would be, and where the spark plug's located.
Yep.
There's
And
it.
here's the coil. The coil would sit on top, and well, look at there's a magnet. Right
So
there.
this is how a normal Briggs and Stratton engine works. You've got the flywheel with a permanent magnet,
Right.
and then this is the coil pack.
This would
Right?
sit, this would be mounted on the engine, and this would spin on it, and then when it come around, it would get its pulse off of the magnet.
Gotcha. And so the timing of the spark depends on that flywheel moving around.
Right, and it's pre-timed because it has the keyway, so it's not like you can adjust that timing, and which is a special point we want to make because that's what we did here. We actually made this adjustable timing here by cutting these holes out and putting a little shifter on there.
So how are we providing the spark here? Because I see no permanent magnet.
Right.
I do see two wires coming down.
Right. We're using battery ignition on this one, so we've got underneath.
What we're using is a 1910. They call it a buzz coil off of a Ford. Matter of fact, sometimes they say Ford on them.
Really?
But that's what this here buzzes. You put 12-volt charge to it, and that'll.
Oh, it's a tattoo gun.
Yeah, exactly. I watched that video, a couple of them.
It's a tattoo gun.
Your head. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Almost got me there. So it's just like a tattoo gun, so that it'll
It
pull.
does. It has. Here's your coils in here.
Okay,
Your
and so
primary and secondary.
so how do you provide the spark? Is it just it's not a 12-volt spark, is it? It's something
No.
higher. There's a transformer in there.
There is it's actually an oscillator. This coil.
Okay.
So you got a 12-volt battery, and you've got simple positive and negative, and your high voltage output. And it's a vibrator coil. So can you see close up there? There's an iron core right here.
Yep.
Made of a bunch of steel wires that run the whole length of here. And on that iron core there are two coils wound on it. A primary side coil, and this is low voltage, and the secondary side coil, which is the high voltage. So when you complete the circuit through the primary coil, it causes the core to become an electromagnet. And there's a set of contacts right here.
Yep. I see them.
And when that iron coil is magnetized, it opens the contacts.
Yep.
And that opens the primary side circuit. And when you open the primary side circuit,
It charges up.
right, a very large voltage is induced in the secondary, and that's your spark. And the nice thing about these is that if you energize them, it'll just keep making a high voltage spark. Now it's not
Constant, like a continuous spark.
Exactly. Every time that these contacts cycle, it creates a spark, and they cycle very quickly. If you
So that's why you call it a buzz coil, because it buzzes.
just
Here, we'll show you.
be patient right now, and let me show you.
You telling me to be patient, Mike? Mike, we just met each other and we're just now fighting, man. Come on.
They open, yeah.
First fight.
No. Okay.
Yeah, keep your eye on.
Stop moving it.
Okay.
That's okay.
So it's very, very slight.
Do it again, please. Wow. Yeah, I do. So it's just barely moving?
Right.
Is it supposed to be more than that?
Nope. It's just enough to break that circuit. You see the arcing there?
Yeah.
Just very, very, very slight. And if you come up here, look at the spark gap.
Wow.
And I can draw that out. That'll throw about a 1/4 inch spark continuous.
So when you say draw that out, you're talking about mechanically
Exactly.
unthreaded here.
Right, exactly, yep.
So how do you avoid, like for an engine like this, the worst thing I imagine would be firing the engine before you're at full compression?
Well, we can do that really by advancing the timing here with the points. Now, you obviously don't want the timing too far advanced when you're starting it, or else you'll ignite the charge before the piston's up the top dead center and it'll rip the rope out of your hand.
So tell me this, serious question. I'm supposed to know this, but I don't. What's the difference in advancing the timing and retarding the timing?
Well, okay, so advancing and retarding are two sides of top dead center. So top dead center is when the piston's all the way up like this. All the way up, it's flat with the deck, which is the block.
Okay.
Right? And advancing would be having the spark fire when the piston's on the upstroke. It's coming up to top dead center on the compression stroke. Then you go through top dead center, and then the piston's going back down on its stroke. And retarded timing would be anything
Firing after it's at top dead center.
past top
So why do you want to advance the timing? Because it sounds like, is that because it takes a while for that flame to build up?
There is, and the compression is actually strongest a little bit before top dead center in most cases. And you want it to fire because, like I said, there is a delay also between when exactly that spark fires and when the piston's geometrically, when the piston's at the optimum point to put the maximum amount of force on the crankshaft.
So let me try to paraphrase what I just learned. So you're saying that the timing of the engine is critical to both run more efficiently and get more power out of the engine.
Right.
And if you are too advanced, then there's a chance that you could do a hard knock and it'll try to make the engine go the other way.
Do you ever hear anybody say the word pinging?
Yes.
Pinging? Right. That's typically because of either a very poor grade of gasoline or too far advanced ignition timing.
But in simplest terms, it means that the engine is trying to fire before it's ready.
Right. The piston's working against the combustion at that point.
Gotcha. But if we retard the timing a little bit further, closer to top dead center, there's this magic point where you can get this most optimum burn, right?
There's the butter zone, so to speak.
What's it called?
The butter zone.
What is,
Never heard that?
the butter zone. No. Is that a
Butterface.
is that a New Jersey term? Butter zone?
Never heard that before?
Never heard that one, Mike.
Well, geez.
I like it. No. I'm from Alabama. We like sayings, and that's pretty good.
You can have that one then.
Yeah. So the butter zone is when you're. So how do you know when you're in the optimum running region
Well,
on the timing?
I mean, with most engines, like an automobile engine, it's a matter of analyzing the exhaust gases, really, is when you know.
Oxygen sensor on the outbound side.
Right, and then you can, and on a modern day vehicle, everything is adjustable. Camshaft timing, air fuel mixture, and spark timing. It's all done by a computer instantly.
Yeah.
You know, within this situation,
Our cam timing is always going to be pinned because it's all mechanical,
it's fixed,
right?
Right, on this one, exactly. It's all, they're geared. So there's no, I mean, to change the cam timing, it would mean disassembling the engine and installing the camshaft 1 or 2 teeth out from its original position.
Gotcha. Does he know what he's talking about?
He knows so much about these engines that in 50 years I've never heard any of it.
Oh yeah?
I'm telling you, the kid's incredible.
Okay, sweet, cool. So now what do you want to learn with the high-speed camera? We want to figure out, so I would like to see, we're not going to change, well, I guess we can change the timing because you have the buzz box.
Right, we can change the timing, and if you come over to this side, you can see what we've done. This is the original points plate. It's actually called the backing plate right here. Right? And as we said before, originally the points are fixed in about that position right there. And then the 4 bolts secure the backing plate to the block.
You're talking over my head. You're going to have to slow down.
Okay.
What does moving this knob do?
Moving the knob moves the set of points, which are these right here, in relation to the crankshaft.
Those points are what provides the spark.
Right. That's when those points close, it energizes the buzz coil.
So
and
when
makes it start.
this turns, does it engage and disengage?
There's a lobe on there.
Right.
If you look in there real close, you'll see it coming, and the crankshaft actually pushes that up.
All right, I'm trying to look.
It's actually a flat in the crankshaft.
Right, it's a low spot.
Here's the crankshaft here,
Gotcha.
and you see the little flat part
Oh, that flat part right there.
Right.
Let me see. Let me zoom in close here. So that flat spot, it's a lifter, right?
Right. See, it rides high all the time, and then when it comes around, it'll dip.
And when it dips, that makes
the
that
points.
drop.
Right.
And when that drops, it makes contact. And when that makes contact, it then fires the spark.
Right.
It's not simple.
No. Well,
It
kind of is.
In terms of you think what's happening in a typical gasoline engine, a modern gasoline engine, this is very archaic. You know, it's simple. This is what they used in the 1890s up through the 1910s and 20s. You know, it's what was most interesting for me is that a lot of the technologies that you see coming out today in diesel engines and gas engines were already done back in, you know, the turn of the last century, but they couldn't perfect it and they couldn't produce these various designs quickly and economically, so they fell by the wayside for more simple things like this in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and now we're just like rediscovering some of that now.
So how did you make this acrylic?
Well,
I mean, this is, I've machined acrylic before, and it's not fun at all, at least for me.
well, this wasn't too bad because it was just a hacksaw. It was just a flat plate. We just hacksawed it and drilled it,
But how did you polish it?
just with a buffing wheel and stuff.
How long did it take?
Not long at all. 5-10 minutes.
Oh, come on, how long did it
No,
take?
10
that's
minutes.
a specialty. A specialty, you know, putting the clean edge on things like that.
Oh, really? So
And he
that's
knows how to do that.
So that's the beauty of this. Like
Right.
you know parts of this to make it work, and you know the other parts, and that's the beauty of this whole thing is like
Exactly.
you work together and you made this.
None of this would have been completed in the manner it was
Right.
without the both of us working together. There's aspects that I could never do on my own, and I wouldn't even think to do it. You know, even if I was physically capable of painting or making things or polishing things up, refining it, I wouldn't know where to start. You know, I wouldn't have the intuition.
We do a
to
lot
say,
of brainstorming, you know,
Yeah.
and we bounce stuff off each other, and he'll come up with an idea, and I'll make it better, and then when he hears my better idea, he'll come up with something even better. So then we always come up to a good compromise, you know, and we've never had any problem. You know, it's always just said, okay, let's do that.
That's cool. So
Yeah.
so it's strange. Like you guys are very different in age.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
I'm old enough to be his brother.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's odd for two guys that are a different generation to work so closely together. But I think have you learned a lot?
Oh yeah,
And vice versa.
Yeah.
We learn different stuff. You see, Mike isn't your ordinary. He's only what 25 now or something.
Yeah, 25.
Even when he was 18, he wasn't your average 18-year-old. You know, he wasn't home playing video games.
Yeah.
He was reading a tech manual or something like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's like I've got friends like this in my life where people that have been down the road and know a lot more than I do teach me stuff, and vice versa.
Yeah.
I get to like ask dumb questions that they end up knowing the answer to. This is awesome. Okay, so can I inject myself in your bromance just enough to run the high-speed camera?
Come on in.
All right, here we go. Let's run the high-speed camera and see what we can learn.
Go. We're just talking about you. Oh man.
Are you the guy that? Is this the guy that you were?
This is it.
Okay, so I
We're
need to.
not bad-mouthing.
I need to have my wallet and stuff.
Yeah.
man.
That's him.
Hey, I'm Destin.
Hey, that's
Destin.
Bill.
Bill?
Yep.
Pleasure to meet you, man. You doing all right? We were just setting up the camera here. That's awesome. That's what we want.
We also put a spacer in here so you can see from the side.
Oh, so that spacer, so that acrylic spacer that you put in there in between was on purpose.
Right.
That's
Why
cool.
We also did that to,
It increases the volume, right?
Yeah, increases the volume. Yeah, that does. That lowers
but also
the compression.
decreases the compression.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted. You know, so it can run cool. We can run this thing, and you can actually put your hand on the cylinder walls and the head, and it's not hot at all. So it runs about 100 degrees.
That's awesome. Okay, we're just gonna expose for the fire now. See how that works.
I'd go ahead and...
Yep.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
All right, cool. That's nice and bright. Yeah, and you got some little tornado action in there. Let's see what that looks like here. Have you ever run it on gasoline?
Not with the clear cylinder head. We did test run the engine on gasoline when we first got it, just to make sure it was sound mechanically. So yeah, I would be interested to see if the burn is any different on gasoline, and if you can see any vapor. That was what I really like to see. If you can see the vapor entering past the intake valve into the combustion chamber, then being compressed, then igniting, and then being forced back out. That's what I would like to see.
That would be interesting.
No. No, there's no governor.
So Bill, are you a new addition to the garage crew here?
No, I've been here pretty much since the beginning.
Oh, hold on, stand by. Kill it.
I don't know how to kill it.
Don't know how to kill it.
There's no gas off valve.
Oh, great.
Huh, that was a good putt. We weren't consistent, but it was a putt.
Should we take the head off and buff it?
Yeah, let's just watch this. See what it does.
So light. There's definitely discoloration.
Smells like America.
Yeah.
Are you qualified to do this?
I don't know. We'll find out.
So those bumps are what we're seeing on the video. The exhaust is what's so satisfying to me.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get another stroke into this. Mine's 13,000. That's just pretty. Alright, got it. Man, that's good right there. Okay, out of all the lighting we've tried where we get the flicker, it's like this little $20 shop light with a paper towel over the front seems to give us the best image without flickering, so. Did we just figure out how to...
I think we fixed it.
We fixed it with back pressure?
Look at you.
Oh, look at that!
Now it's going to melt on there. Wow.
It just needed back pressure?
Yeah, hang on.
Take it off, see if it runs worse.
It's missing.
It's missing.
It's galloping instead of running right.
Yeah, there's some misses.
There you go, you're tuning it. You're exhaust tuning it.
Exhaust tuning, is that a thing?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That was cool. So we made it run better by putting a sticker on the
See, now
top.
you learned something today. You got smarter.
I got smarter every day. So we were trying to just make a fun intro for
Road King.
805 Road King, and we end up providing more back pressure to the engine. Why does that affect it though? Why does more back pressure make it run better?
I don't know. It could be just the way that maybe there's more gases left inside the engine after each combustion cycle.
It's not
And
blowing
that-
as many out.
Right. That mixture of leftover exhaust gases and the new fresh charge that enters could change a lot of things.
Huh.
Quite interesting. It's like an EGR on a car, perhaps. You know what I mean?
What's an EGR?
And exhaust gas recirculation.
Uh-huh. Oh, because right now you're getting rid of all your exhaust gases.
Right. Maybe feeding them or letting them remain in the combustion chamber for a little bit longer. May end up with a better burn.
Huh.
Very interesting.
So let's look at how bad it is. Can you sit it down? So the next improvement to the design is what?
Sacrificial plate. The easily swappable.
Just like a thin piece of acrylic that goes in between
Right.
the spacer and the head, and you can swap those out real
Right.
fast.
Swap it out on the fly. So you.
So that one's. So this one is structural, and then the sacrificial plate would be aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
And you could make 10 of those quickly, couldn't you?
Yes.
That'd work.
Relatively inexpensively too. You know?
Yeah,
We had a scrap piece of 8-inch plexiglass. Yeah.
I think that'd work.
Yeah, that stuff is cheap. You ever heard the butter zone before? No. What was that, a pencil thing?
Must be a Bristol thing.
What are you talking about?
You ever heard the phrase the butter zone?
Butter zone. Where the world is that? Oh. I thought I heard butterface.
I've heard Butterface.
Yeah. Butter zone. What's that?
That's the good.
The sweet spot.
What do you mean?
We
Yeah.
call it a sweet spot. You know, like when you find something perfect, you go, oh, it is the butter zone. Like, what?
I've never, and I work in Bristol all summer. I never heard that. Butter zone. I've never heard of that in my life.
Should you tell me that's abnormal?
That's extremely unnormal.
Bonus engine.
Yeah.
You're familiar with hit and miss engines, right?
I am, but I don't know. So this is what makes it hit. Like when the balls go back down.
It has a lever here disconnecting the exhaust valve.
Yep.
We also turned this into a tube valve with springs to an atmospheric valve, meaning nothing is opening it except
I don't know what the knock is. What is the knock
that's a
sound?
pop that's coming out of the exhaust.
Look at the governor.
That's where your slow motion would come in handy.
See it raising up and dropping
Yep.
down.
That's engaging and disengaging this thing right here,
The latch out.
latch out, which is holding the valve. If you look in there, we got the valves are open.
That's beautiful, isn't it? That's fun. Is that an eccentric down in there?
No.
Yeah, it is right there, right? Isn't that called an eccentric?
What, the gears right
No,
here?
the cam, the bronze looking.
Oh, yeah, for the ignition trigger. Yep.
That's the ignition trigger? I like it.
This
So
here,
I've sat in the shop here for like 4 hours, and it just now, I just now understood that this engine is 4 of these that you Frankenstein together.
That's exactly right. Wouldn't call it Frankenstein. Looks a little better than that.
No,
Yeah.
so there's a seam right here,
The seam is actually right here.
and you welded
Yeah.
that?
in here. Yeah, but there's a.
How did you weld 4 engines together and then have it aligned so a crankshaft could go in there?
It took a long time to do, and it wasn't all that difficult.
And how did you get the timing? You mean that means you had to make a camshaft and a crank?
They're essentially made. They're the 4 individual cranks that have been cut, modified, and then re-welded back together.
Did you do it with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
You did not.
Yeah, and that and the lathe. Yeah. Oh yeah.
You did not. I don't believe you. You did that with this mill.
Yeah, it was, and the band. You know, it was a matter of cutting the blocks, facing them square, getting mating surfaces, and then because the bottom of the block is a square machined surface to the crankshaft.
What is this?
Oh, that's the super secret parts box.
Oh yeah. I was gonna see if I could find one at the end of the crankshaft.
Yeah, right there. There's an old crankshaft end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
We cut the end of the crankshaft.
We don't need that
off.
anymore.
Yeah.
There's another one. That's Maytag.
That's a different one. Yeah.
This is a little obscene.
There's another one.
Yeah, there's another one.
And we cut the lobe off and everything because we don't need it. We made our own
We'll have to
lobe.
run that for him.
Holy cow, man! You're like wizards.
That was a fun project.
Everybody says my grandfather had one of them. I say, yeah, I'm sure he did.
Yeah, this is a one of a kind. What do you call it?
Quasimodo.
Quasimodo?
Quadzi.
Quasimodo?
Yeah. And I had to extend this. You see, that was the same size as that one there, but
That's pretty.
we extended that. We made the exhaust.
Only now do I appreciate what you've
Yeah.
done.
And then even the manifold, I made this manifold. See, I did all this kind of stuff. The manufacturing this, and Mike, he just gets it running. And it just works. Yeah, this here was actually off of a
Quasimodo.
little motorcycle or something, like a 50cc motorcycle.
So how do you do the timing? 4 different cylinders. How do you do that?
It operates just like a normal 4-cylinder engine. The firing order is 1, 3, 4, 2, just like a typical tractor engine or small automobile engine. It was just a matter of sitting down and drawing out on a piece of paper. So number 1 crank throw has to be a top dead center, when number 3 cam has to be 120 degrees past where that point is.
That's ridiculous, man.
Marking all the cams, getting them all lined up. Because when we manufactured the cam, if even one or two lobes were 2 or 3 degrees out, you'd get a misfire that you could never correct.
It's funny. I just threw out the scratch sheet for that yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I seen that and seen how all your
You saw my marks, yeah.
all your
That's crazy. Sweet.
Oh wow.
Hello.
Oh, you can see it get sucked away though, whatever it was. Exhaust stroke. Intake. Oh, look at the valve turn a little bit. You see that? Okay, so it pushes the piston down. And when it gets down there, watch the exhaust valve open and it reverses flow direction.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. It's like a ghost leaving the scene.
That's cool, isn't it? All right, so we got to make sure we say that. And then that's the exhaust stroke, correct?
Yes.
What's surprising is that okay, so here's a question. The fact that the exhaust gases started leaving before the stroke, in fact, it almost looks like the piston's still going down.
Yeah.
That makes you wonder if it was scavenged, meaning there was like negative pressure in the cylinder when that happened. You see what I'm saying?
Well, there'd be positive pressure because it's wanting to rush out to the lower pressure of the atmosphere.
You're right.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely right. So there's
So there's still combustion pressure when that piston reaches bottom dead center.
okay.
And
Yeah,
it's rushing out.
you're absolutely right. I was thinking backwards. Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, that's perfect. Okay, we got to save this.
Nice.
Holy cow, did you just watch 30 minutes of behind the scene? That's pretty cool. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. You might want to consider subscribing to the second channel, because that sounds like the kind of thing that you like. If not, then I understand completely. Anyway, I'll leave links below to all their channels. They have really cool stuff on their channels. They're trying to get things going, so that'd be great if you go check them out. Also, I'll leave a link to Patreon below. Patreon's what enabled me to just hop on a plane and take that trip. Pretty big deal. So I appreciate all the patrons that make this possible. Anyway, I'm Destin. You get smarter every day. Have a good one.